Good morning, everybody. This is Cali Cat Tap Talks, and I'm with Connor Tracy. He is the brain behind the nightclub brand like Off Sunset. So go ahead and tell us what you do.
Yeah, I guess I'm an entrepreneur. I'm from LA. I work in the entertainment industry, and I think at the core of it, I'm a connector and a promoter. I've worked in hospitality, events, record labels, management companies, um, anything in between. So I guess really to dumb it down, I'm an entrepreneur in the entertainment business.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, what was the very spark of the idea that made you want to build a nightclub brand like Off Sunset?
Yeah, so I I think we opened off Sunset when I was like 28, and I had started kind of doing parties and events when I was like a teenager, probably like around the time I was like 19. So it was kind of like a long time coming, and I had thoughts and had tried like looking at venues as early as like 2017, and it didn't, and then Off Sunset didn't happen until like 2021. So it was kind of like a long-term like goal of mine, and kind of made sense. And so it was kind of just like maybe preparation meets luck meets like right timing.
Okay. Well, you don't look 27. You look 22.
I'm not,
You
no,
look
I'm old now. I'm 32. I'm about to turn 33. I got some grays on the side coming in.
I'm just telling you, you look pretty
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you always envision attracting like A-list celebrities, or did that happen more organically for you?
The entire thing was organic. I really like had a normal childhood. My dad was an electrician, my mom cut hair, so I didn't really like know anyone like in the like quote unquote Hollywood scene. And so I just kind of came up with the idea to start throwing parties, and then they got like big pretty quick, and then people started going. So I didn't necessarily like have like a grand plan or say like, oh, so and so is gonna go. I kind of just was like, hey, like I like throwing parties, and I think I'm gonna keep doing it. So that's kind of like how it happened.
So you went to college, right? So you threw parties there, and it just went kind of like Animal House.
Yeah, so I originally started college at this school in the Valley called Cal Lutheran in Thousand Oaks. Um and so I started doing like events and parties kind of like my freshman year of college, but I was doing events both at my school there and then also in LA, like could be like West Hollywood or Beverly Hills, like mansion parties, or then it was like I was like renting out like 18 plus nightclubs and selling tickets, or I was doing like warehouses in downtown LA. So that was kind of like the vibe in the beginning when I was like 19.
Really, you're just doing like the warehouse. Was it like techno? I think it's called techno.
It was more like underground hip hop. So like I'm trying to think of like some acts that you would know that I booked. I don't I mean, you know what? I had done like a couple events with like one or two of the guys of like Odd Future.
Hmm.
I think his name was like Mike, Mike something like that. I did like two events with him, and then I was doing events with this group like Raider Clan. I think like this one guy like Ethelwolf. It was just very like underground like hip hop kind of parties. And then like little, I don't think you'd know like a lot of these people. It's more like niche like underground vibes.
Is it
But
underground vibes?
yeah, 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 yeah. But I was at the same time though, I was booking like I booked like YG when I was like 19, if you know who he is. Like I
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was like mixing it up. Like like I when I was like 19, like some of the people you might know, like I booked like Cali Swag District, like they did a song "Teach Me How to Dougie." Like I booked them when I was
Yeah.
19. I booked YG. I booked like this sick like underground rap artist from the Bay named Andre Nicotina. So like I was kind of like that was more my vibe. It wasn't like electronic music. It was more like hip hop.
So were you booking them by? I mean, how were you able to get a hold of these guys to book them?
Yeah, so I kind of was just going on Google and like emailing like their managers or their agents, and like I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how much they costed. I had no idea about a lot of that stuff. And some of them like I think with like YG, it was like through a guy that knew the manager. Like, so sometimes it was like he showed up, you know what I mean? But like, I could have totally just given someone money and they just, you know what I mean? So I kind of
Yeah.
was just figuring it out like as I was going along. But that was kind of more um what was going. But I was mixing it up. I was doing like the mansion parties. I was doing the underground warehouse thing in downtown, and then I was doing like the YG one was at this like 18 plus nightclub in Hollywood called Dim Mak Studios. I think it was like owned by Steve Aoki and like his company or something like that. So I was kind of like popping, and then I was doing the college parties in Thousand Oaks at my college, and those were big. Those there was like 800 or 1,000 people going to those. So
To the college
um
parties?
yeah, yeah, it's easier. I would the two easiest parties to do are mansion parties and college parties because everyone's down to go to a mansion party, and then with the college parties you already have like built-in infrastructure where there's people out there and they want to do stuff on the weekend, but it's
Mm-hmm.
harder to do the warehouse parties and the 18 plus because you're kind of competing with more things and there's not like built-in people that you know what I mean? So that was these were things I learned. These were things I learned along the way.
So were the warehouse parties or the mansion parties or the college parties? Which one was the most where they partied the most?
I would say out of those, the most fun were probably the mansion parties and the
Really?
warehouse parties. Yeah.
All right, all right.
Like less structured, more like, this is crazy, like, you know what I mean? Like I would say those two were the ones where they were probably like the most fun and people like were like, "Wow, that was nuts."
Wow. So did you charge or just it was just a simple um hey, so and so's having a party? Is it just that type of communication and people just showed up and and they
Yeah,
partied
so
all night
well, yeah, I
long?
was I was definitely I was definitely charging, I don't know what, like 10, 15 bucks at the door or something like that. The way I was promoting it back then was Facebook event pages. So I would create like a Facebook event page and then I had this this app or this tool where I basically could invite everyone's friends with like the click of a button. So like I would say like, "Hey, like if you want to come to my party for free, let me like invite all your friends," basically. And so I would invite like 100,000 people to some of these parties like on Facebook. And so people would be like, "Oh," like I had some people like especially like for the college ones there was like a lot of hype around them for some reason, and then there would be people that would like fly from like other states to come and stuff like that. Just it's probably, but you probably could get the same effect now, I guess, if you did like an event and you promoted it on TikTok or something like that and it went viral. But back then, the viral was like the Facebook event pages.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So talk a little more about Off Sunset.
Right. What exactly do you want to know about it?
Well, it was a nightclub that you designed, and it had Class A celebrities that went
Right.
there, correct? I mean,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
then yeah. So I just want to know, based on your knowledge, and so the audience understands, just how did you come about with Off Sunset?
So the whole thing, like, at least from my point of view, was kind of a fluke. Like I at the time, when I was first hearing about it, I think I was still either working at Universal Music Group or I had just recently left and I was just doing music management. And so part of me, when I was getting approached about it, felt like maybe going back into nightlife was a step back. Like, cause
Hmm.
yeah, not that I don't appreciate nightlife, but I thought that like my trajectory was going to be like hospitality, nightlife, and then music, and then I was just going to become a music manager or something like that. And so I was like, am I like using the nightlife as a crutch because I can make money off that? You know what I mean? And so I had that going on, and then obviously COVID hit, and so I was like, well, now
Yeah.
it's definitely not going to happen, And so, but basically, like how it came about was, one of my buddies that I worked with at One Oak prior was a partner in it. My other buddy that I was friends with when I was working at Interscope was a partner in it, and then like two other guys that one of them I knew from hospitality before. So it was all kind of like people I knew from before coming together. And then they basically were like, hey, like, do you want to get involved? Do you want to become a partner? And so that was kind of how it happened. And then I ended up like signing the deal like during COVID. And I didn't even really like think that much of it. I thought I had some other things going on at that time that I thought were going to be like the hit. And, yeah, I just kind of I think we opened like August of 2021 and we were still like having to cotton swab people and stuff like that because of COVID. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it was a small like 150 person speakeasy. And so we kind of just opened it and made it like word of mouth and people started talking about it and then like after like 2 or 3 months it just kind of like hit and like took off and it became like this like unspoken thing like in the scene. So it was great. Like I'm happy it happened, but I definitely like didn't really know what to expect before. It wasn't like this was going to be a home run or something like that.
Yeah, because all the celebrities go there. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
do you remember your first celebrity that went there?
Yeah, yeah, it's public knowledge. Like I think like the first big event we probably did was this DJ named Diplo. I think was like DJing there, and I think like Kid Cudi was maybe like behind the DJ booth with him or something like that. So it was like pretty quick. And I think like singer songwriter guy Benny Blanco, I think he did the event with them yeah. So like that happened like pretty instantly, and I think one of my partners like put that together. So it was like pretty quick that we had it. It's not we weren't like random people that like decided to do a nightclub, right? Like we all kind of already knew like celebrities and we're doing like events and music and this and that. So it's not like it was like random luck. Like we were already like doing a lot of activations like that before. But yeah, it was that was probably like one of the first instances where I think like the press had picked it up and people were talking about it.
Okay. So let's go back to the partnership. You said partnerships are tough. What made the beverage partnership
hmm
successful, and what did you learn from, you know, ones that didn't really work out?
Yeah. I think partnerships work when everyone um brings something to the table that maybe the other doesn't or vice versa or
Hmm.
you know, that usually I feel like is when things are the best.
Hmm.
So maybe one person is the business person and then one person's the marketing person and then one person is the promotions and special events. You know what I mean? So I think that usually helps. And then also, I think an important thing when you're trying to find a partner is like finding someone that's like equally as driven as you and will, because it's a partnership. So you don't want to feel like you're carrying an anchor or something like that. So you got to really like vet someone out and make sure that they're in it with you for the long haul. So that's kind of like what I would look for
Okay.
if I was
All
going to
right.
start something.
All right. So do you remember? Let me see. Let me step back for that one. It's not about do you remember. It's about you built a $4 million club. Did you know that it was going to be a $4 million club?
No, I had no idea. I really didn't. I had a feeling like we probably were gonna make money for like a certain amount of time or whatever, but I didn't really think it was going to be something that like lasted years or did that much numbers, but it was kind of like a combination of things. Obviously, all the partners brought equal things to the table.
Mm-hmm.
We got a good lease deal because it was COVID during the time. We were the first nightclub to open right out of COVID, and then nothing else really opened for like a year or two after that. So we had like clear runway. And then I think a lot of people during that time were making money from like crypto and stuff like that. So there were a lot of like spenders from that world that were spending a lot of money. So it really was like a, perfect storm, if you want to call it that.
Okay. And what was your bad storm?
What was my what?
Bad storm. So if you had a perfect storm that got you kind of famous, so
Yeah.
what was a bad storm that people can learn from? What was the mistake that taught you the most?
There's been certain times again where, I thought that like certain ventures or certain artists that I was working with were gonna like pop off and be the next like so and so. And then that ends up not working, but then, the thing that I think the least about, like an Off Sunset, ends up being the next hit that I have. So, I think like I don't know, it's interesting, right? Because I watch like some entrepreneurs like talk about like you need to be like all in on like one thing and like focus on that. But, you know, in my experience at least, like I've never really known what was going to work, and I didn't really um have an idea, and then sometimes the things I thought were going to work or be the hit weren't the hit. And so I try to have a few different things going on at the same time. Not like obviously different businesses. Like I'm not trying to like run like a prescription medicine company and then also
Hmm.
like have a night, like, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be managing a few artists, and I'll be working on a few different hospitality deals, and then usually one of those things carries me over and I get another hit out of it, if that makes sense. So, I feel like at least for me, it kind of like takes less pressure off the situation, because if I'm just focusing on one thing, then I'm like overthinking it, and like you can't force something to hit. Like things just either hit or they don't. People either want it or they don't. You know,
Okay.
and so I try to have a few things going on that are in the same universe that all coincide, and I let the cards fall where they may,
So
you
what was
know?
one of your best-selling drinks at your off Sunset? You remember?
Probably like Casamigos. Probably the
Really?
Casami, or one of the expensive ones like the Clase Azul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like probably one of those.
So nobody really drank beer there. It was just all just spirits.
No, no, no. People drink beer. It's just like, the markups on those like expensive bottles, like a Clase Azul or even a Casamigos. It's like those could cost like 2 to 4K or something like that in the club. So the
Mm-hmm.
markups, yeah, whereas like beer, you can't really like mark it up that high.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. On the flip side, what was one flop or mistake that actually taught you the most?
Um, I I was working at Interscope, right, or at Universal Music Group, and out the gate, like so before I was at Interscope, I was just a very big club promoter. I worked for like One Oak, Tao Group, like the biggest clubs, and I had like a lot of celebs, and so I got hired at Universal Music Group as A&R and a manager. Really had no idea what I was doing. Um, Kind of like just got brought in randomly. I wasn't even trying to work in music, and like out the gate, and within 2 years, I had like started working with a rock act named Youngblood, like when he had like 2,000 followers and like one song out. And within those 2 years, like we had like a few platinum records. He did a song with like Halsey and Travis Barker and MGK, and like had done Coachella. Like, it happened quick. And then during that same time, I also had like met a producer like at a house party and started managing him, and I got him placed on Dua Lipa's album Future Nostalgia, which ended up winning a Grammy. And so I did that within 2 years. And so I decided to leave Universal when I was like 27 to start my own management company. And because I was like, I feel like if I keep staying here, like I'm never gonna like own anything myself and yada yada. And then within like 3 or 4 months of leaving, COVID hits, and I like everything's done basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
So
know?
that sounds like that was at the point that you had to pivot into the music, right?
Well,
Or did you wait
no, 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 no,
until
no.
after
I
COVID?
pivoted into Off Sunset. I
Okay.
pivoted into yeah. So basically, I leave Universal to start my own music management company, and then that would have been like in November of 2019, and then COVID fully probably went into effect what like February or March of 2020, and
Mm-hmm.
then everything shut off. No touring, no nightclubs, no restaurants, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went from the year before being at Coachella with an artist and doing this to having zero going on. Nothing. And then it was like that for like a year. And then Off Sunset opened like in August of 2021. So that's why I say like, I don't ever really know what's gonna go on, and then I don't really ever know what's gonna hit. So you kind of just gotta go with the
The
flow a
flow?
little bit.
Go
Yeah,
with the flow?
yeah. It was
Okay.
scary though at the time. It was tough. I'm happy it happened though.
Because you learn
Happy.
from it, right? Because one year people don't plan, you know, being out of work or COVID, you know, for
It
that
was
time.
nuts. It yeah,
Yeah.
the one thing it taught me was like I can bounce back and get bigger
Mm-hmm.
after being at a certain level and like losing it all. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I kind of always like, cuz I'm 32, so I didn't really experience 2008 recession. And so
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of had that thought in the back of my head. I was like, I wonder what it's going to be like being in the workforce like when the next like recession hits. And I don't know if people would define COVID as a recession, but it sure as heck, felt like a recession to me,
Yeah.
So
It was a recession. It was a
yeah.
recession,
Yeah,
especially
so
in the entertainment business. It was a recession.
yeah, so you know, I'm happy I feel like it made me more resilient, and I know that now there's certain years where you're high and low, and um I know that I can bounce back and get another hit. So that was probably like my biggest like 1 year being up and then 1 year being low and then the next year being up, you
Just
know?
skyrocketing. The year that you were
Yeah.
low, were you still communicating with people, or were you still doing like underground entertainment?
I was doing some pop-up events and like yeah, I had like I think like 6 months prior to Off Sunset opening, I had like a place like in Hollywood and I was kind of doing events there a little bit. And before that, I was like doing events at different places. I was still like staying in the mix and like trying to like
Huh?
stay around, but I didn't really like know what was going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was a weird time, right? I mean, some people thought COVID was going to last like 5 years or something like that.
oh, really? I don't know about all that. I
Yeah.
don't know, but yeah, 5 years is a long time. A couple months with COVID was a long time.
I
Yeah.
didn't know. I had no idea how long COVID was gonna last. I was like, how like is this thing gonna last like 5 years or is it gonna
Huh?
last like 3 months? Like what's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay. So the hospitality is often called a form, an art form, right? What's
Right.
your personal definition of hospitality?
People person.
What do you
Gotta
mean?
you gotta be able to read people. You gotta be helpful to them, be of assistance. You gotta be nice. Um, you gotta be of service to people, right? So people want to go out, they want to have a good time, They want to meet some cool people. They want to dance. They want to listen to good music. For those that drink, they want to have a few drinks. I think in hospitality, and then in hospitality, you got to bring it. The room's got to be good every single weekend. Because if it's not good one Saturday night, then you could lose momentum and then the spot closes. So
Really?
you got to be consistent. You got to be really nice. You don't know who you're talking to. You could be talking to the prince of so and so or the queen of so, you know what I mean? Like you have no idea who you're talking to. So you got to be nice, you got to be consistent, and you got to keep booking fun acts to get people to come, and you guys got to make the vibe good. Got to make
Yeah.
people feel like they want to hang out there, So it's tough. And there's a lot of competition too. There's always new venues opening, and someone down the street's booking the next big, they're booking Bieber or someone big, and so there's always something else going on, so it's tough. It's not easy.
Wow. Yeah, I understand. What's one non-negotiable rule you set for your staff that help maintain high standards?
You gotta be nice to everybody.
So that's one. Yeah. Besides being nice, that should come into play, right? What's one of your non-negotiable rules?
um if you're staff,
Mm-hmm.
um aside from being nice, trying to think. I mean, personally for me, I would maybe prefer like no one parties on the job if you're working, you know what I mean? Because I've been sober since I was 19. So I feel like if you're going out at night,
Mm-hmm.
it's a job, and you're working. And so I feel like you should treat it like a profession, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And congratulations being sober since 19.
Yeah, yeah.
That's huge. That's a
Yeah,
huge deal. You
yeah,
know, just to make that
yeah. I
step.
got
And
sober,
yeah, you're
yeah,
22
it's
now,
like
right?
13 years.
Yeah,
Pardon?
13 years. No, I'm just messing with you. I said you're 22 now.
Yeah.
So 13 years. That's a major accomplishment. That is huge. That is huge. Okay, if someone wanted to learn the art of hospitality from scratch, what's the first thing that you should master?
From scratch, I would say for one, you need to have like some other form of income coming in, right? So when I was starting out, I was teaching tennis lessons. I don't know, I was making maybe like 20 to like $40 an hour or something like that. And so I had money coming in. So I was paying for these events myself and these artists, and like, when you're 19, like some of these events I was putting up like 5 or 10K. Like it was like a lot of money at the time. And sometimes I'd borrow from friends and yada yada. Sometimes I'd make money and sometimes I'd lose money. So I think that like when you're starting, and maybe it's like any other business, but you need to have cash flow coming in because the hospitality business is not predictable, especially in the beginning. And so you need to be prepared to lose money and be prepared to kind of float for a couple years doing it until you
Hmm.
kind of get the swing of things. And then it starts to finally click and make sense and you can kind of figure out how to make money from it.
Yeah, that's some good advice. Very good. Very good advice. How does your approach to building a nightclub brand compare to building a presence in the music world?
Yeah, so it's really quite the same. You know, I think my approach to building an artist or a nightclub is I don't try to swing for the fences right out the gate. I try to
Hmm.
like do the trickle effect where it's like word of mouth, and you slowly start to hear about it over the course of months or a year, and it doesn't feel like it's being shoved down your throat. And I do it also because um I feel like if you try to make this huge announcement right out the gate, there's all these expectations. So if I was like putting like lights everywhere and like, oh, off sunset's open, they'd be like, oh, well, who was there? Like, how much did you guys sell or this? You know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the way that we did it was we were just telling people in the beginning, like, oh, like come by, like we're just showing like a couple friends, like we want your advice. But we were fully open, but we were playing it off like we're just showing a few people and this and that, and can you give us your advice? And I would say that I kind of do the same with the music stuff where it's like, oh, like meet this artist, like I'm working with him, like we're doing that, but I'm not doing like a huge thing out the gate, you know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
once it starts rolling, then you start adding things and it starts to gain momentum. So that's my approach to usually launching things.
Okay. Do you find more creative freedom in a nightclub or in music?
uh I'm gonna have to go with nightclub just because that's where I started and that's my roots.
Hmm.
Because at the core of it, like, I just loved and I love like putting together parties and like seeing people come together. But music is a very important extension of that. But if I had to pick one, I'd have to start with my roots, like where I began.
Okay. So what's the next big swing?
Well, so right now I have recently started executive producing my own songs. So I'm now putting together my own songs where I'll work with a producer, I'll work with an artist. We'll work on the songs together and then put them out. And then I'm credited as an artist on it as well.
Hmm.
So I've begun working on that. Like one of the artists we just worked with, Maxine Ashley, she was on Black Coffee's album Subconsciously that got a Grammy. And so I'm getting some like really cool people on that. So I'm putting that out. Um, I've recently gotten brought on to do like a few different big like political events. So I did like the after party for the California Democratic Convention, and that got covered in Rolling Stone. So I did that. But I don't know. I don't know. There could be maybe like a big hospitality or hotel group or something that comes to LA that maybe hits me up, or maybe I start working with like a record label again. Like I'm kind of just in a spot right now where I'm kind of just doing like cool stuff and then
Hmm.
waiting for like the next big wave to come.
Cool stuff is okay. There's a lot of people who would like to be doing what you're doing right now.
Y-
So
Yeah, yeah,
describe one of
yeah.
your
I don't.
songs. So, describe one of your
Pardon?
songs, man. Describe one of your songs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I the vibe is I just kind of want to do like dance like electronic music with female
Hmm.
vocalists. That's kind of the vibe that I want to stick to. I want to stick to like a very specific thing, and so I'm trying to just find like really talented female singers and put them on like really like kind of like I'm doing like around like 125 to 130 BPM like dance tracks,
Hmm.
and that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. And there, I played a couple of the songs at like the event that I did, and yeah, but I think I also manage a few artists and do that kind of stuff as well. So I feel like when I'm putting together the songs and putting them out, it's like even just a good like proof of concept that, I have good taste and I work with talented artists, and I think it just adds to the overall like cachet, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I plan to do more. I just put it out like a month or two ago, and we got some critical reception from it from like EDM.com and some other people, so it's going good.
What's the name of it?
The project is called Contactee. The guy I worked on it with came up with the title, and we
Hmm.
have three vocalists on it. One is Maxine Ashley. Another artist is Sonye. She was on Anderson Paak's album Ventura that won a Grammy. And then there's another artist named Hawa, who I think she's from New York, and she just released a project with ASAP Ferg. So they're all super relevant, like in the scene, and I just thought they were like really talented artists. So I'm just trying to like work with like cool, talented people and try and get more like critical acclaim rather than try and chase like Billboard Hot 100 charts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, what advice would you give people that are aspiring artists or want to become in the music world? You know, what advice would you give with based on your experience that you carry?
Yeah, be prepared for a lot of highs and lows. Um, it's a long grind. I think if you look at some of the stuff I've done or whatever, it looks like it was all an upward trajectory. It was like a lot of like whatever, but it was really hard. I didn't know a lot of the times what was going to work or what would work or didn't work. I felt like every day I was about to lose it all. I still do to this day. Uh, not to sound pessimistic. And I think just have an open mind. I think that like you could start off doing one thing and it can lead into other things as well. I think when I started, you know, there's this huge like festival now called Rolling Loud where they book a lot of like artists and do festivals. And I think in the beginning, maybe like my lane that I was doing would have led to that. Then it morphed, and now I kind of do more of the like Hollywood, like celebrity crowd stuff, but it's like smaller. And then I also, work in the music industry, which I didn't even think that was in the cards. And then now I'm doing events like on the political side. And so I think like you kind of just got to go where the wind blows and got to have like a mindset where you always want to keep pushing everything further and expanding. And it's a journey.
It's a journey, but the
Yeah.
bottom line is basically don't give up. It's going to be a tough road. Just don't give up and follow your gut.
You can't give up. I will say though, it's like I never partied during the whole time. I never drank or anything like that since I started doing the events, and it's all I ever thought about. Like every day, I'm always thinking of like new ways to expand the business or do this or do that to help. And so I feel like you have to be like fully committed and be like really dialed in. And even if you're that dialed in, it's still really hard.
Mhm.
There's gonna be highs and lows with it. But yeah, if you're that committed, it'll pan out and work, and things will happen that you didn't think were gonna happen in the beginning, you know?
Yeah, true. And as we dive down onto the Cali Cat Tap Talk show, what legacy would you like to leave behind?
Um, wow. I haven't really thought about that. I mean, at the end of the day, like I hope people think I'm or at least thought like I was a nice guy, and that I did some cool things. And hopefully like I inspire future generations to, use what I did as a blueprint, and run with it and do bigger things than me. That's kind of like, I guess, what I could hope for. Because I felt like when I was coming up, there was people that I took bits and pieces from, but like I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really like know anyone when I started, and I didn't have someone that kind of like helped me along the whole way. So I kind of was just like figuring it out myself the whole time. So hopefully, like at the end of it, when I've done it, my deal, um, I can be used as like a template for other people to learn from.
All right. So this is Cali Cat Tap Talks, and we're gonna tap out with Connor Treacy.